Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Yusril. Welcome to War Thunder and welcome again to Lunchtime Tankery. This replay isn't one of mine, it belongs to DirectorCoulson, who very handily and kindly sent it in. He's downstairs, the match has just started, and it's a fairly typical arcade loadout. As you can see, we're having the usual traffic management problems. Somebody brought a flak panzer one to a party, and Duckbush, well, certain words are being exchanged by traffic control on the ground. Also, possibly certain artillery shells, but yeah, there you go. Coulson, meanwhile, is having none of this. He's legged it straight off in his BT-5. This is the standard Soviet suicide cap. It's a fairly reliable tactic, actually. The BT-5 in particular is very fast over almost any terrain. You'll notice he's doing a solid 50 kph here, edging up towards 53. It'll do this on soft ground as well, which makes me think that Gaijin perhaps do need to go back and look at the way that this tank handles itself on rough terrain. Of course, that would immediately obsolete the best turbo capper in the game, bar possibly the Hellcat, but hey, so be it. It's not necessarily a major game breaker because the strategy relies upon you being able to get your heavy vehicle up to secure the cap area, or at least the rest of your team showing up, and well, the rest of the team isn't showing up. Unfortunately, that T-34-57 under Blue Duck has shown up. Coulson gets the cap, and also gets a one-way ticket to Tahiti for his trouble. Meanwhile, Blue Duck is going to be carrying on causing some mayhem. He's pulled up here, he's not stupid. That may be a T-57 with strong armoured plate, but that's an M6 coming around the corner under the command of P. Meadow, who, frankly, should have known better than to just rumble around a blind corner like that. And he immediately gets fire into his right forward drive wheel. Now, where did we leave his point of view? There we go. As you can see, he can't do a thing about it. He's got no real shot into Blue Duck, so he backs up. I think he was trying to side scrape at this point, but it really doesn't help him because, yeah, he's still taking some nasty hits, and while he tries to work out what he's doing, unfortunately it's not going to help him. He can't go around that building to the right without getting a 57mm shelled somewhere painful, and if he goes round to the left, he's going to be in the line of fire of a lot of enemy tanks, most notably backward Recon 2-2. DirectorCoulson, however, is back in the fight. He's in his IS-1. Mixed ammunition loadout, not something I'd go for, but hey, that's just me. I tend to stick to APHE because, hey, one round fits all, pretty much, when you're talking about the 85mm gun on up. Maybe some heat rounds for high explosive, but straight high X? Nah, not my style. However, to each their own, and he does do pretty well in this game, so perhaps I shouldn't complain. Let's kick over to his view just for a second and see what he's seeing. As you can see, it's pretty much the standard push forward. Trundle around this corner, and up he goes. Now, the enemy is now pretty solidly dug in around those T-34-57s that we saw earlier. Blue Duck's pushed a hole, the rest of the team has moved up to support him. But there's really not a lot they can do to go from there because our own team is solidly dug in. Lobster's legs get spotted. And boom. Bit of an unlucky shot there, actually. The round had just enough room to go into the fighting compartment. And, well, the burster charge did the rest. This Panzer IV, however, has got no excuse. Concealment doth not equal cover. And that barely counted as concealment with those fences. M18 Hellcat pulls up, is looking entirely the wrong way. Amazingly, soaks around to start with. Coulson re-aims onto the turret seam. And as soon as the reload finishes, bada bing, bada boom. And also Bernie, ow, ow, ow. Those guys are out of the way, so he's now free to push forward once again. Little trundle. Stop to assess the situation, and, well, he's now in the same position that our M6 friend was in earlier, so he hits the skies instead, and gets himself a... that's a B-24D, I think. In any event, it's a medium US bomber. Yeah, it's a B-24, probably a D-type. I'm sorry, it's a J-type. My apologies, it's right in front of me. Meanwhile, Duckbush is having himself some 152mm fun. Or at least he would be if he wasn't stuck in the middle of his reload cycle. Oh dear, can he reload? Is it gonna matter? Because that was one of Coulson's bombs coming in. 152. Nope, it isn't gonna matter. Coulson gets the kill. But it does free Duckbush to go hunting with a round in the breach this time, which is always a good idea. Not that he's going to get very far. Trundle forward, completely unsupported. Oh look, a wild KV-85 appears, and so does an IS-1, and that's the end of that. Coulson, meanwhile, is back with his old problem. Carlos is up there in his IS-1, just popping in and out of concealment. Although it has to be noted, the reason the Saxy man just popped out of view is because Coulson exploded him. He backs up again. Notice he's reversing and giving just enough side armor that it's really going to be tempting to take a shot, but it'll probably bounce. And he is quite happily using that Panzer IV-G as cover. Good man, Panzer. Good man. Shot into Carlos doesn't achieve all that much. And really, those two guys down there are the principal threat. Carlos Pizarro in the IS-1. And, of course, KV-2. Well, KV-2 is basically a threat to everybody. Turret burst against the side of a turret. What am I saying? Shell burst against the side of a turret will, of course, kill pretty much any tank when shrapnel punches down into the roof armor and into soft, squishy, burny and explodey bits from there. So Coulson backs up again, lines up another shot on Carlos, and this time it pays off. He gets the kill. However, that KV-2 is now only at 200 meters, and he had a shell in the breach. So back to Tahiti once again. Grab yourself a nice cocktail while you're there. Duckbush has got his T-34-42 out. He's trundling around trying to get some revenge. And rather sensibly, considering that this is a 1942-era tank that's a little low tier for this match, he's not getting into the mainline fighting. That 76mm is starting to struggle around about the 5.0 to 5.7 mark. Trundle over, nearly wreck the suspension, and then keep going forwards. Right turn here. Try not to demolish the buildings. I'm assuming he doesn't have to worry about the paint job on this one. Round the corner, and then a quick little pause while he calls his artillery in. Meanwhile, Coulson is back in the open field, and basically he's going for another air run. What's he got? It's a Tu-2S Russian fast bomber. Couple of, I think those are 500-pounders under the wing roots, and not a lot else. Remarkable similarities here to a number of other fast bombers, most notably the DB-7. That kind of fast twin-engine design with a single turret in the back was actually a fairly common experiment in the first part of the war. Meanwhile, bombs gone into that nice cluster of enemy tanks, and it's the Death Express back to the IS-1. Will the enemy get clear in time? What do you think? Ouch! Oh boy. Do not bunch up when there are enemy air around, ladies and gentlemen. It ends so very, very badly. Meanwhile, in an exciting comedy, someone, well, let's be honest here, a busted barrel on a short 75 at this here, who's gonna notice? I mean, why did he even bring a Stug III.A along anyway? You have to ask yourself. Arodiri's in his KV-85, and, well, they're basically holding things down from here. The enemy is pretty much gone at this point. They can more or less play for a defensive victory with A secured. And this is the advantage of the turbo cap. You can pretty much dig yourself in. The enemy has got to push forward into the teeth of your guns, and it's so much easier to defend than it is to advance. Shot at Lobster Legs doesn't go anywhere. Let's have a look at what Lobster Legs is doing, because I think he's pretty much the last guy left on the team. Machine gun is desperately attempting suppressive fire. He's firing it. Oh, wow. he was actually firing at the Stug III.A, which is a bit of a surprise. As low priority targets go, that's pretty much it. Then again, short 75, mind you, Panzer V, that's 80mm on the front. Yeah, he's functionally invulnerable to the Stug III.A at the front. He's not, however, invulnerable to the T-34 that just popped up. Now, the question is, who was that? It doesn't really matter because DirectorCoulson's pulled up again. So, is he going to be able to take down that Panzer IV? Bear in mind that 75 can put a hole in his turret without too much difficulty at this range. That T-34-85 can certainly put holes in him, and one solid turret shot kills a KV-85 via a crew burst. So, slowpoke forwards, taking it nice and carefully. Perhaps a bit too steep an approach around this corner. He's going to expose his forward drives as he comes round. Doesn't matter, shot ruins the Panzer IV-H before anyone can react, and he's pulled back, not quite far enough. Reloads, pulls out again. Let's go to his view. The Stug III.A valiantly distracts the KV-1. I mean, for all I was reading about him, Jack Quackensmock really did try his best. And he bought enough time, but rounds are just bouncing off that KV-1. It doesn't matter, however, because that was the end of the round. So, Coulson pulled up 10 kills for 2 deaths. Jack Quackensmock, yeah, 0 for 3. I have a suspicion that guy was relatively new to the tier, or just got some really, really god-awful matchmaking. Stug III.A, I mean, okay, I've done it as well. It was kind of funny, but not if you're firing a low-velocity APHE into the enemy and screaming, "Why won't you die?" Particularly if you're firing at the side of a KV-2, or any KV, in fact. The APHE just cannot penetrate. The heat can do it, but not really. Other standout, of course, was Arel Aroderi, 6 for 2. I think he pulled up a few more assists to get himself the extra points, and of course he did get that shoot down as well. And as for the enemy team, well, naturally, XX Blue Duck caused some havoc in his T-34, and Backward Recon had some fun as well. But, ladies and gentlemen, that has actually been my first outside replay for a Lunchtime Tankery. If you've got anything you want me to massacre, send it to yusrel@gmail.com, and, well, we'll see what that produces. Until next time, farewell.